Setting out on his journey, the long-term ambition was to see the fruits of his research eventually published. The result was truly astonishing, and Terry managed to track down what must have been every surviving piece of information which existed on Richard Stevens. Apart from family members and those who had flown with him, Terry located an extraordinary amount of detail about Richard's astonishing yet little-known RAF career. During the course of his work, it would be true to say that his diligence left no stone unturned. His research was a masterpiece. Without doubt, he assembled the most remarkable archive I have ever seen on a single RAF pilot. Whilst that should have been a blessing to any author, it conversely became something of a two-edged sword. Such was the bulk of material that it was difficult to see the wood from the trees when assembling this book. Sadly, Terry did not live to see the eventual fruition of his work come to life in the pages of Lone Wolf. However, after he had moved house, Terry deposited with me his archive, saying that he had got as far as he could. Now he didn't quite know where to go with what he had pulled together. In giving me the archive, Terry wanted me to see if I could somehow make use of it. I told him that it formed the basis of a wonderful book, but he was emphatic. He was not a writer. Despite Terry's assertion that he couldn't write the book, I managed to persuade him to work with me on a collaborative effort. Reinvigorated and further inspired to at last take the project forward to a writing stage, Terry and I met over a matter of months to sift, filter, and weed the archive of something like a dozen or more bulging lever arch files. Nothing was stored electronically, and to try to get to the real nitty-gritty of the matter. This was no easy task, not least because of Terry's impossible-to-decipher handwriting. Unhelpfully, many of the notes were penned by him. The challenge sometimes deepened when even Terry couldn't work it out. Sadly, it wasn't long into the joint effort that Terry tragically died. However, I made a vow to carry on and get the story of Lone Wolf out there. This was not only for Terry and his family, but also for Richard Lt Stevens, his story crying out for the telling. I can only hope that Terry would have approved of the result, although it would surely have been enhanced by his involvement to completion. It is a matter of great sadness that we could not have completed this book together, my friend. Andy Saunders, East Sussex, 2019. Prologue. On a bitterly cold morning in January 1942, Albert Shoebridge of Brentwood, Essex, picked up his morning newspaper and read that the RAF's greatest Nightfighter pilot had been killed. He was Flight Lieutenant Richard Lt Stevens, DSO, DFC and Bar. Albert's mind went back to a moonlit night just 12 months previously, when he saw a German aircraft dive across the moon's bright disk and disappear into the darkness. He remembered looking over towards the far horizon, and there, banking at treetop height against the flames of a growing fire, was the silhouette of a Hurricane Nightfighter as it circled what was the burning wreckage of a German Dornier 17 bomber. On another moonlit night, this time during September 1916, a searchlight from Dartford was reaching up, stabbing and piercing the night as it searched for a German Zeppelin which droned threateningly up the Thames estuary towards the capital, its target. Brothers James and Richard Stevens were fast asleep in their cottage at Gravesend when their mother woke them, calling, "Boys, quick, he's coming down on fire!" James later recalled how the two brothers rushed to the bedroom window of the cottage to watch as the sky was completely lit up by the fierce conflagration, and then how they all cheered as the airship finally split into two angry red balls of fire and fell to earth somewhere to the north of the river. After what was the first successful Nightfighter interception over British soil, an elated and victorious Lieutenant William Leaf Robinson brought his BE-2C biplane back to land at Sutton's Farm Airfield and back